Smark Podcast. Welcome to the KayFabe Smark Podcast with Eric Todd and Brian Rampa, your smart mark source for news and opinions on the world of professional wrestling.
Hey, it is August 1st, Sunday. We're coming at you here this week because Thursday, well, I had a couple issues going on last week. One, my basement flooded from all the rain we got here in southeastern Michigan, so I had a bunch of nonsense, and my basement was completely rearranged, so I had no computer, no internet set up down here. I had to rearrange everything. And two, I had a DJ gig on Thursday as well, so this is the time that we've got it arranged, but we are here. We're going to talk wrestling. We're going to talk fight for the Fallen in AEW. This is the KayFabe Smark Podcast. This is episode 63. We're coming at you with 63 times we've sat down here and talked professional wrestling on the internet, and I only do that with my best buddy in the world, Mr. Eric Todd. What is going on, buddy?
Oh, you know, same old. My son just finally got me out. I'm 39 years old. I've probably been bowling 10 times in my life and probably haven't stepped foot in a bowling alley in 10 years. And my son dragged me out to one, helped me work on my form, and now the student is becoming the teacher. Now I am relying on him to learn how to bowl properly. So it's going to be an adventure, Brian.
Starting a new hobby in the post-COVID era. So there you go. Something new coming out of the cocoon of the shit that was 2020 and the COVID bullshit. Eric, do you have any wrestling? Are you excited about wrestling? Did you watch all the wrestling? Are we ready to talk about some wrestling?
I watched some wrestling. I watched AEW Fight for the Fallen. I caught a little bit of SmackDown, a little bit of Raw. But this episode, there's so much going on with Fight on the Fallen, and there's so much news that we have to cover. I think we should pop right into it. What do you think?
All right, we'll hit the little swirly. Here we go. It's time for the news from around the world of the internet to your ears. Here is the KayFabe Smark News. All right, Eric, lead us with the news here, buddy.
All right. Usually I go in chronological order with these things, but we got to start with the biggest news of the week right here, Brian. Bray Wyatt has been released from the WWE. He has been under contract since 2009. And just like that, WWE puts out a tweet that says, WWE has come to terms on the release of Bray Wyatt. We wish him the best in his future endeavors.
Not only was he released, but he was future endeavored. And if we all know what that means, usually that means you ain't coming back.
That's what that means. And look at that little Fiend pop figure going on.
Sitting right behind me.
Speculation has been going around since this news dropped. I believe it just dropped yesterday.
Yeah.
But speculation's already going around, ranging from Bray asking to take time off for his mental health, stemming from Brody Lee's death. Him and Brody Lee were very close. And Dave Meltzer is reporting, on the other hand, that WWE is saying it's due to budget cuts. So it could be a little mix of both, but either way, keep your eye out for Bray Wyatt.
Yeah, he's I'm sure he'll do something. Yeah, and I hate to, we've discussed this a million times. Oh, he's jumping AEW. Shut up. He might. He's got to work. I'm not mad at him if he goes to AEW. He's got a family. Go work and make money. He would probably be great in Japan, personally.
Right, and I think he would do good in Japan, but the ingredients are already in the stew, and Bray Wyatt's already stirring it up because following his release, he updated his Instagram bio to, quote, Cult of Wyndham coming soon. So
I was going to bring that up.
Bray's not missing a step.
I was going to bring that up. I didn't know if you saw that, so I was going to just mention it, and it was in my head, and I was having a brain fart thinking about it, and you got it. I was going to say Cult of Rotunda, but I knew because I was thinking of his dad and everything, but he's going with the Wyndham, which is the other side of his family.
Right. And you bringing up the AEW. All right, I'm with you on that one. AEW can't just sign every star that WWE releases, but I think people blow it out of proportion. Since COVID, WWE's released close to 50 people, wouldn't you say?
Oh, probably.
And AEW has only snatched up a handful of those, but there are ones out there like a Bray Wyatt where you would be absolutely brain dead if you didn't pick them up, if you can get them for a decent price. I understand you're not going to pick up a Brock Lesnar because he wants $5 million just to scratch his nuts, but someone like Bray Wyatt, I'm sure he would take a small cut off his WWE contract to be on national TV again in 90 days.
Well, here's the thing that I think people get lost in too is that it's not the wrestlers. They're not who I get irritated with, and that's not who the internet community should get irritated with. They're just getting paid. If somebody offered you a contract to go from here to here to do this to that, you're not working, sign this, I'll pay you, and occasionally you might be on TV, but you'll get money. Why wouldn't you take that? But I think it's AEW. So people get mad at the wrestlers sometimes when I think they need to more look at the company. That do they need to waste their budget spending it all on these guys? Can't be mad at the guy for signing a piece of paper and taking some money if he's just going to sit home and do nothing.
Right. The internet wrestling community, they'll be quick to get mad at Tony Khan if he signs them. But this is business when you lay down to it. And all these hardcore AEW fans, I don't think there's as many as they think they are. They're not as big an army as they think they are. They want AEW just to be the Angelicos, the Marco Stunts, the fucking Luthers. They want AEW just to be a national televised indie flea market show. And Tony Khan's not a complete idiot. He knows how to make money, and he knows these former WWE stars are going to make money, and it'll put on a better show. So don't hate on the guy for trying to put on a better product just because you get your rocks off watching guys do quadruple Lindy backflips into a pile of concrete cinder blocks. And that's not going to sell to a large audience. So calm down.
Yeah.
Old Tony Khan will do the right thing.
I agree and disagree on both sides of that statement. I think they need to take the stars that are available that will come work for the price that they're offering to draw eyes to help build your Orange Cassidys and Marco Stunts, if you will. They're the names that you threw out there that are in my head. But to build their Jungle Boys, to build their MJFs, you bring in Bray Wyatt and put him against MJF, people are watching.
Right.
So that's where it comes in handy to build up your young talent. They need to focus on the young talent, but they need to make sure they don't pull a WCW and have the main event guys, if you will, just tower over and rule and run the roost over the up and coming guys. They need to bring them in to push the young guys to the top. That's a whole nother conversation for another day and another time. That's a whole podcast in and of itself.
I was going to say we could spend an hour just talking about that, and I'm not interested in that tonight. So, but moving on, Mark Henry did an interview with the Battleground podcast. He discussed whether he would ever compete in an AEW ring. And Mark Henry responded with a quote, "Well, it's definitely going to happen in AEW. It's not going to happen anytime soon, I think. I want to be 100%. I'm still nursing injuries from 4 years ago. The wrestling business is a tough business. It's not meant for everybody. Being in my home state, it would be cool to be able to do that, but not at this current time." So Mark Henry does want to wrestle at least one more time, and he says it's going to be in an AEW ring.
Well, there you go. I guess we'll just see how that works out. You'd hate to, I don't know. You want to make sure it's a good way to go out. That's all you want. Look how bad Hogan wants in a WWE ring because he doesn't want that last match to be against whoever it was over an Impact.
Yeah. I don't think that's ever going to happen, though. I don't. All right.
Just I don't think that's ever going to happen, though.
Yeah. In wrestling COVID news, Brian, we got a couple stories. First of all, Jeff Hardy has tested positive for COVID-19. That was right around July 25th, and he is currently quarantining for 2 weeks. And they had him in a little feud thing going on. I believe was that Karrion Kross.
Yeah, Karrion Kross came up for a main call. Got his main call up, and then got turned down to got jobbed to Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, he jobbed out to Jeff Hardy.
Right. So it was pretty insane. So we'll see how that turns out. But yeah, I didn't hear about Jeff Hardy having the vid.
Yeah, Hardy's got the vid. And then another COVID news. So we got a big wrestling event coming up for WWE Summerslam. That is late August. The exact date's escaping my head right now.
I want to say the 21st.
I believe it is the 21st. But that's supposed to take place in Las Vegas. Well, Nevada just reinstated mask mandates.
Oh.
So I don't know how that's going to work. Even if you've got mask mandates in place, are you really going to let 20,000 people jam into an arena, assholes and elbows, be like, you guys are all right, you're wearing masks?
That's going to be a tough one. Hopefully in the next 3 weeks they get it figured out.
Either they bring those cases of COVID down, or we might get another empty arena show. They might have to put them TVs back up for the Battle Dome or whatever the fuck they were calling it.
Thunderdome. Battle Dome.
In sad wrestling news, the son of B. Brian Blair, one of the killer bees from the late 80s, early 90s WWE, his son was murdered at the tender young age of 29.
Good Lord.
B. Brian Blair's son was found dead on a construction site, and details surrounding his death remain unclear. So, I don't know. Maybe the killer bees were into some shady shit. But either way, terribly sad news going on. Nobody needs to die that young.
No, I don't even have a halfway witty joke thing to get out of that one. We'll just move forward and say, that sucks.
Nope. WWE, as a lot of people know, are holding a Queen of the Ring tournament this year. And it was also recently reviewed that the tournament would begin October 8th on Friday Night SmackDown and continue on the October 11th episode of Raw, and will wrap up we'll wrap up in Saudi Arabia at the pay-per-view event on October 21st. So I think that's another one that's going to go over like a fart in church. We know women aren't really
welcome
touted.
In Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, thought highly upon in Saudi Arabia. They got to dress like they're goddamn garbage men in a fencing tournament.
Yeah, that's an interesting place to end the Queen of the Ring tournament.
This big groundbreaking event, first ever Queen of the Ring, and they're going to put the main event of it, the very last round, in Saudi Arabia, the least welcome place for a woman to wrestle. Good call, WWE.
Yikes a doodle. That's a questionable one there. Any other fun news?
Let's see here.
I'm going to be honest with you. I completely missed this Queen of the Ring thing. That one slipped past me. So that was news to me literally as we sat here and spoke.
During a WWE second quarter earnings call on July 29th, Vince McMahon and Nick Khan were asked how they feel about AEW as competition, and Vinny had an interesting response, and I quote, "It's certainly not going to a situation like with WCW, where it's the rising tide, because that was when Ted Turner was coming after us with all of Time Warner's assets as well. That was a different situation. AEW is where they are. I don't know what their plans are. I only know what our plans are. I don't consider them a competition like I would WCW back in the day. Nowhere near close to that." And Vince also said in that same statement, "I'm not sure where their investments are when it comes to their talent. Perhaps we could give them some more." And that was right before they released Bray Wyatt.
So he's ready. He just knows what he's got, what he has, what he's going to do, and he's just going to move on with that. He'll cut guys and send them over there. Go on. I'm not worried about you. Go make your money. I'm sorry I can't pay you. Go get it somewhere else.
And these marks all over Reddit are like, Vince is bluffing. He's terrified. He knows AEW is going to take over and blow WWE away with ratings. And it's, no, man. Vince is right. AEW is where they're at, and that's where they're going to stay.
Reminds me of the story that Kevin Nash tells one of the nights on WCW before like the NWO was really formed. Hall and Nash come down from the crowd. They got baseball bats. One of them is a gimmicked bat. One's a real bat. They beat up the WCW. They're beating people with baseball bats. They go off the air. They're flying in the private jet with Bischoff, and Bischoff's like, "We're taking Vince down. This is it. We're gonna bring him down." You know, he's all hype on this, and Nash just sits back and laughs and goes, "2 guys just beat up your entire locker room. How are we gonna take down Vince McMahon?" And Nash just being, and that was his product at the time too, right? Nash signed a contract with them, and it's that same idea, man. You know, it just reminds me of that story, the way he's like, "I'm not gonna. What are you gonna do to the machine? The machine is running. You just need to be in competition with the machine. Don't put them out. It'd be the terrible thing to put them out of business." So it's just a funny story where Nash even was like, "You're out of your mind. Pay me my money."
And it was shortly after that WWE took over. I think that was wrapping up on the 83 weeks there.
Yeah. Just a funny story.
A quiet release. Apparently, Jeff Jarrett was released back in April from WWE. Did you hear about that?
From having his Legends contract? Like, what did he have?
I believe he was working backstage.
But that's right. I believe they brought him in as a producer or something backstage.
Yeah. A report from What Culture reveals that Jeff Jarrett, I almost said Jeff Hardy, Jeff Jarrett was quietly released from WWE in April. The WWE did not make it public knowledge. And the quote is, "Per our source, the Hall of Famer has already been reaching out to other places for bookings, though he is still bound to a non-compete clause of unknown length. Whether or not WWE plans on bringing Jarrett back at some point is currently unclear."
He may have been a road guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, he could have been on if they're out on the road and he's a road agent for house shows, they're not running house shows for the last year. You know, sorry, guy, what am I going to pay you for? That was a lot of those guys that got cut in that first round last year when it was the big thing, like everybody that got dropped. It was like, that was your house show talent. That was like your house show filler cards. And so, if you're not doing house shows, I can't pay you to, we don't put you on TV. You're a house show guy. Sorry, you got to go. Same idea. They might bring some of them back if they can get shows running again. We'll see.
Yeah, time will tell. And that, Brian, was my final news story. So if you want to swirl it up, we can wrap up the news.
Swirl it up. We are coming out of the news. Jeff Jarrett officially has been released from the WWE. It's just been public knowledge. We got a Queen of the Ring tournament that's going to end in Saudi Arabia. That's interesting. What in the hell is going on in the world of wrestling? All right, we're back.
Funky place.
Funky place. Well, always following our lovely news, we do a little thing we like to call overrated, underrated. And we're going to talk some main events. So,
who are these 2 assholes behind here, right?
Who are them guys? So, what we're going to do now is talk a little bit about main events, Eric. Some main events going on in WWE history. So first one, overrated, underrated, Hulk Hogan versus Andre the Giant. I think we talked about this in another previous overrated, underrated, but in a different mentality. But again, overrated, underrated as a main event to carry WrestleMania 3. What do you think?
Definitely overrated, Brian. That match is given so much credit, which it does deserve a ton of credit in the wrestling world. But as a match itself, completely overrated. You had Macho Man and Steamboat on that card. There's nothing else to say. Macho Man and Steamboat blew everything else away on that entire card. So Hogan and Andre, overrated.
You go back and watch it for what it was as a match or what it was as the story. The match, if you know nothing about it and you're like, hey, look at this legendary match, Hogan versus Andre, people are going, what am I watching here? But if you know the whole thing going on of Hogan Andre, the big slam, 93,000 people, there was more of the hoopla that led up to it than what the match was.
Right. They could have just both sat in the ring and took a shit, and it still would have gotten
Over.
over. Yeah.
Overrated, underrated. Hulk Hogan versus the Warrior. Ultimate Warrior, that is. WrestleMania 6.
That was another one that was completely overrated. Anything with Warrior. Warrior was a complete brainwashing experiment that just took off. 90% of everything Warrior did was garbage. But this match just is stuck in people's head for some reason. I don't know if they just like the bright colors and they've been taking their vitamins as much as Hulk Hogan's been telling them to. But yeah, Hogan and Warrior, overrated.
Now, I liked this match, and it sticks out to me because of, a peek at the childhood, but let's go back and think of why people were drawn to the Warrior, and it's like, watching a Fruity Pebbles commercial. There's flying colors, there's loud noises. It just draws you into what is happening. Warrior was fast, explosive, strong. He had paint on his face. He was the streamers hanging off the arms, the bright colors, the loud music, the running, the powerful. It draws you in. But if you go back and watch it for what it is as a wrestling match, if it was anything over about 4 minutes, the match started to stink up the place. So he had to really go on. Also, it was a big changing of the guard for Hogan, so that was a big thing. Like, Hogan lost at WrestleMania, and they lost the bet, right? And that was a big thing. So that was a big moment of what makes it memorable. But if we're talking the match to hold together as a main event, I'm with you, Stink City.
Yep.
We got a theme going here. Overrated, underrated. The Rock versus Hogan, WrestleMania 18.
Now that one. That one does not get the credit that it deserves. So Hogan was way past his prime in that match. So he had to rely on his wrestling IQ, so to speak. He had to rely on ring psychology. He had to rely on selling. And him and Rocky were both masters in that. And they turned that what could have been a complete garbage match into a fantastic match. I watch that one from time to time just for the hell of it. I love that match. Underrated.
Underrated on that one. We're going to go off of the Hogan thing now. We're going to move to Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, Survivor Series 97. That is the Montreal Screwjob.
That is another one that I think that's overrated, Brian. I think what finished up that match, the camera angles that were used, Vince being so forward and going on TV, and Bret screwed Bret. I think all that hoopla after the match is what made it what it was. What actually happened in that match wasn't too big of a deal. Shit happens. And Vince didn't want that title going on WCW TV. He just wanted to make sure Michaels got it and got it out of Bret's hands. And I don't think it was a big deal. It was just the shit surrounding it. So overrated.
The afterbirth is what makes it so memorable that everybody remembers. The match itself was a Shawn Bret match. We've seen about 6,982 of them by that point. So, but what happened following that? I always love the controversy that follows that. Scott Hall's a big one that follows that says it's all a work. That Vince set it up. Vince is like, you're not going to let some guy write WCW on TV with your finger. You're not going to show yourself getting spit on unless that's for real. Like, that's a work. Vince is putting on a show, so I love all that stuff. Last one, Shawn Michaels, Stone Cold Steve Austin, WrestleMania 14.
Oh, man.
Mike Tyson's involved, DX. You got the whole thing going on here.
That was complete chaos, and hoopla and media sensations added so much to that. But it's Austin and Michaels. You could put them in a flea market and it's going to get over and the whole place will erupt. They're both masters at their craft, and No matter how much you try and push the shine off on just media coverage and WWE overhyping things, that match still deserves every bit of credit that it gets, and it still remains underrated to this day.
Yeah, the WWE, Vince is great. There's no question. He can build the story of a match. So he can get you invested for, over the time, right, to build up to Shawn and Austin, or to build up to Brett and Shawn. And all these times that they did it, you can tell the story. Sometimes the hoopla overpowers the match itself, and you remember it for the hoopla, not the match. And some of these you remember for the match, and the hoopla just matched it. You know what I'm saying? It was together. They met in the middle there. So there you go. That's overrated, underrated main events that either stunk up the show or made the card. We're going to move in and talk about main events here and Fight for the Fallen with AEW now.
Yeah, in just one moment. I've got one more segment that I'm going to sneak in here, Brian. I pulled this idea from old Jim Cornette down there in Louisville, Kentucky. Now, Cornette says back in the territory days, all you need to run a successful territory is 8 guys, the great 8. You need 4 baby faces, 4 heels. The rest you can just fill in with whoever's in town that week. But Corny took it up a notch to run a whole promotion, and he went through WWE's entire roster, and he said, we need 8 baby faces, we need 8 heels, we need 6 tag teams, and 6 women. And I decided to take that same formula and take it over to AEW, and I think I have an interesting roster here. I've got a total of, so we got 16, and then 6 tag teams, and then 6 women here. So just around 30 athletes. The rest of them can go to hell. We don't need them. And this is what my fantasy roster would be in AEW. This is all it needs to be successful. Keep in mind, we're operating on the assumption that CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are going to sign.
All right, let me know what you have here. Let's tease me out here.
All right, we're going to start with our top 4 baby faces that are going to be running the territory here. Top 4 baby faces, I've got Daniel Bryan, I've got Adam Page, Cody Rhodes, and Jon Moxley. And their adversaries, the top 4 heels, I've got CM Punk, because I see CM Punk coming in, and basically he's been trashing the wrestling industry since he left it. I think he should continue that. And you guys all stink, and I'm here just to show you how shitty you are. I think that should be CM Punk's approach.
Because I'm the best in the world.
Best in the world. So the heels taking on the babies will be CM Punk, Kenny Omega. He's a goof, but I kept him around. He draws a lot of eyes. MJF and Miro.
Oh, those are your okay.
Those are my top guys, and I would say the AEW Championship contention. And then my guys in the lower and mid card here, I've got my baby faces as Jungle Boy, Darby Allin, Malachi Black, and Wardlow. Gonna turn him babyface.
Oh.
He's got a great look to him. And their adversaries, the bottom heels, would be Lance Archer, Powerhouse Hobbs, Sammy Guevara, and Ricky Starks.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's killer mid card there. For me, you could almost move that up to main card.
Right.
They're on
now,
their way.
Is there anyone just off the top of your head that should have been on that top level that you think I missed? I think I got them all.
Nothing that makes me go, oh my God, I can't believe you forgot that guy. So we'll keep rolling here.
Yeah, we'll keep rolling. I've got my tag teams. My babyface tag teams are going to be the Varsity Blondes.
Saw that.
The Acclaimed.
Okay.
And then, might surprise you a little bit, Young Bucks. Same reason I kept Omega around. They stink, but they bring in a lot of people to watch them.
They know they are shameless self-promoters. They are the punk rock of wrestling, right?
Right. And then the heel teams that will be taking them on will be FTR. You saw that one coming.
Yeah.
Proud and Powerful. They've improved so much. Santana and Ortiz. and the Lucha Bros. We're taking them back to their roots. They're heels. They need to quit acting like fucking babyface clowns.
I can agree with all of that. I like all of that. And the rest of them are hitting the bricks, huh? Everybody else.
Rest of them.
That's fine.
Yep. The Private Party hit the bricks. Can't even think of any other tag teams.
And the rest of them. And the
Dark Order
rest.
hit the bricks. All right. And then my women, I've got 6 women total. My baby faces will be Sheeta, Chris Statlander, and Serena Deeb. And then my heels, I think this heel threesome here is pretty solid. I've got Britt Baker, Thunder Rosa, and Tay Conti.
I'm like, if he doesn't put Thunder Rosa in, he's out of his goddamn mind. That would have been one that I had to call you shit on. But you got her in because, I mean, let's be honest, she's good.
Yeah. So that is my miniature, get rid of everyone else AEW. And if you don't think those 30 or so names couldn't hold AEW in place and where you can hone in on their talents, let me know.
Now, here's where people are going to take this too literal because people are dumb. People take things too literal. This doesn't mean that the babyface top guys can only face the babyface heels. You can have mid-card guys facing upper-card guys. You can mix the match. You can do that with your tag teams. You know, I know Eric wouldn't do this in his promotion, but you could even turn some gray area good heel faces can face other gray area heel faces, and then eventually people turn, and you can rotate this roster around, and you could drop a guy from the top to the bottom and the bottom to the top, but keeping just these 30 people over 100 weeks, you could make this very interesting. You could split up.
Right.
You could split up tag teams, form a new tag team with the guys you have. Right. This is all interchangeable pieces. This is the way I look at it. You can take these 30 guys and do this. It's not like these 4 guys only face these 4 guys every week, like in some random order. That'll get boring. But
no,
if you
the purpose of the top guys is to elevate the bottom guys.
Exactly. So you can mix and match tag teams. You could put 2, or a threesome together where you got a top guy with 2 heel guys, and you could put like a 3-way tag matches together. You could do all of the things that we still see, but with good people.
Right, precisely. But yeah, let me know your list. If you want to go ahead and leave us a voice message, you can go over to anchor.fm/thekayfabesmark.
Feel free.
You can leave a voice message. Tell me I'm an idiot and tell me who I missed out on.
We would love it. We'd love some hate mail. Send it on over. All right. You ready to get into Fight for the Fallen? You got any more surprise stuff for us? That was fun.
No, we are ready to get into Fight for the Fallen.
Fight for the Fallen. All right, Eric, you want to lead us through this dance a little bit here?
Yeah, let's get this thing started off here. Oh, man, we're coming in hot. We're starting with the 10-man tag team match, Brian. We have got Adam Page, Pizzeria Uno, Stu, Don't Call Me Dick Grayson, Alex Reynolds, and Johnny Hungy taking on Kenny Omega, the Young Bucks, and the Good Brothers. And our referee for this match, Brian, can you take a wild guess of who our referee is going to be in this match?
Oh, yeah, it's your boy, Rick Knox.
Rick Knox, Mr. Don't Give a Fuck himself. And this thing is just a complete shit show, even from the entrances. The Elite come out to a basketball entrance. They're all wearing Elite Squad, Toon Squad jerseys for a Space Jam tie-in because, Warner Brothers, TNT, HBO, they're all blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I know it was done as a goof, but it still made me go, oh, my God, this is ridiculous. The Young Bucks were both billed at 6'6".
Yeah, that was I can let that go. They're having fun. The Toon Squad, Elite Squad thing had me a little cringed out, not going to lie. I moved past it. I thought this, though, was a good spot for this match. If we're going to talk about the building of a card, put this 10 thing up front and kind of get it in, get it out of the way, and let's move on.
I'm going to disagree with that in a complicated way, but we'll get into that in a little bit later. So Omega interferes while he's not the legal man, and that results in all 10 men being in the ring at once, and Rick Knox does not give a flying fuck. which is fine. It's Rick Knox. If you're not going to enforce the rules, don't enforce the rules. But later on, he enforces a rule that we haven't seen enforced in the damn near 2 years AEW's been around. But this little 10-man brawl results in an 8-man suplex from the Elite to the Dark Order there. So that was just goofiness. The ring clears out so everyone can gather up on the ground, and the camera even shows it. Shows them all gathering up so that Reynolds was suplexing one of the Jackson boys off of the top turnbuckle to the outside.
Yeah.
Camera made sure they showed everybody gathering up and waiting for their cue.
Wait for the cue. Stand here. Catch your buddy as he falls from the sky.
Everybody falls on the floor like bowling pins, and we've got Brandon Cutler, just more goofy, bad comedy shit, just down there spraying the heels with cold spray after they've all just fell down like a comedy show.
I can't be mad at Brandon Cutler. Two things: he's getting his face on TV, and he's getting his name said. So at least he's doing something. How long has he been with the company? One of the best friends of the Young Bucks, and they had him doing who knows what where. So at least he's getting his name on TV and his face on TV, and he's involved in something now. Whether it's fun or not, God bless him for doing something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess he's doing his own thing. He's getting on camera because they don't have anything else for him. But everything, it's comedy first, wrestling second.
I can't disagree with you there.
And everything's just trying to get a laugh and trying to get a joke. And to me, there's just nothing innovative or new or funny about Brandon Cutler just running over and spraying everybody when he does it every single week. It's just, all right, man, we get it. Carl Anderson eliminates Reynolds after a huge contrived spot between Reynolds and Johnny Hungy there. The Dark Order surrounds Carl Anderson and quadruple team him. The Elite are just standing on the outside of the ring watching, not giving a shit. And Rick Knox is just standing in the middle of the ring. Again, you got one guy getting beat up by 4 guys, and Rick Knox just standing in the middle of the ring, hands on his head as we always go. And Carl Anderson ends up getting pinned by Pizzeria Uno there.
Yeah, they got to get into these referees' heads in AEW that they're supposed to know the spots, but they're not there to watch the show.
That's what it just looks like. They paid $1,000 to stand in the ring and watch the show.
Yeah, like they won
with Paul Turner and Rick Knox especially.
Yeah, like they won a raffle at a golf outing to be the special referee in the match. Like they're there just watching it. Like you still have to be in there and count. And Aubrey Edwards does a pretty good job at it. She holds down the referee spot still. You can know when she's still involved or knows when something's supposed to happen. She kind of has a bad poker face. But Rick Knox will just stand there. Paul Turner is the equivalent of a houseplant. So he's just put a fern in the corner of the ring and we'll get more accomplished. But we'll continue on speaking of this match.
All right. We go to break at this point, and we come back, and we've got Grayson and Gallows in the ring here. We got a few of the idiots all gathering together on the outside of the ring so that Stu Grayson can do a sky twister press, as stated by Excrement. Completely misses his pile of people, just cuts right through the middle, lands flat on his back, and smacks his head on the ground.
He bounced his melon off of that ground. I watched it 4 times, and then I told my wife to put down her phone, and I go, I know you don't care about wrestling, but watch this man damn near die on live TV. And he does that flip, and she goes, oh! And I said, see the guy? And then I think it was Johnny Hungy gathers up to him real quick, and he's in his ear, and he's patting him on the back, and he's kind of nodding his head like, no, I'm good. I'm in no man's land, but I'm good. I'm alive, and I'm here, and I can speak. But I go, he's communicating with his buddy on TV to make sure he wasn't dead or dying. And then the spot that follows that with Gallows and him getting pushed out into the barricade, and then they work their way out, and now Rick Knox is counting.
Right. Before we get to that, that is coming up. I just got to stay on the Sky Twister press for just 1 second.
Sure.
First things first, we preach this every week that you don't have to do death-defying stunts on free TV constantly every week. This is living proof that you're going to kill yourself on a free television show. Slow it down. Do them on a pay-per-view, something like that. But the point gets driven home by Tony Schiavone here saying you don't see that move too often because it's so dangerous.
At least
You
Tony
fucking think?
At least Tony Schiavone sees it. Now, when they go over this railing and Doc Gallows and him go over this railing and they go out, my gut tells me that Johnny Hungy now has told Rick Knox, count them out, he's done. Like, I think that was an audible call.
Okay. Now that you raised that point, I kind of agree with it here because Grayson was kind of acting like he was fine and dandy afterwards, but I could totally see Johnny Hungy there going, get them the hell out of there. They're Dunsky, because that is the only reason, the only circumstance of how these guys got counted out when they were outside of the ring 30 seconds, 40 seconds max.
Yeah, and then they were outside of the ring leading up to that for about a minute and a half to get ready to gather up for this spot. So fine,
Right.
They didn't count then. Those 10 seconds didn't count. Now there's a 10-second count out, and he counts them out. I'm thinking an audible was called or somebody went into his ear and said, yo, count him out. We'll send Big Doc can be out too. He was one of the next guys out of the match. We'll move along. He wasn't winning this thing as it is. We got to move him. We got to move him along and move him out because we got to get him checked out before, on live TV. What else do you do?
Right. So I'm hoping that was the case because that's the only way it makes sense. Omega ends up eliminating Pizzeria Uno with a one-winged fairy there. We get a basketball hoop set up outside of the ring.
Man, when I saw this basketball hoop, I just went, don't.
Everything has to be a joke. Everything has to be a comedy spot. We get a basketball hoop so the Young Bucks can do the Meltzer driver on John Silver here.
I think it's been renamed. I think it's been renamed to the Indie Taker.
Oh, okay. Well, probably because they got accused of 69ing with Dave Meltzer so much and just blowing each other every day. But I believe it is Matt Buck, the one who dives off of the ropes or whatever, completely misses the slam dunk and just lands in front of John Silver while he takes the tombstone pile driver. So that, because they wanted to focus on the joke and funny and the ha-ha, they just completely blew the spot, and the actual spot looked like complete shit. And that's about par for the course with these guys.
They miss this. I go, if you miss the dunk, this thing's a wrap. It looks dumb. If you miss the pile driver, you can move past it. You're not going to spike pile drive, tombstone pile drive him on concrete anyways.
Right.
Well, you can't murder somebody on live TV. It's not legal. Like, I don't care if it's part of a written TV show or not. You're not allowed to drop somebody on their head like that and spike them into the ground. So this spot should have been set up differently. Differently probably being not done, but nonetheless, it should have been done something differently. The basketball could have been put in there. I get what they're going for with the basketball, or, using the basketball. I don't always know if it's meant to be comedy, but what I see it as is a show-off thing. Like, we're so good, we can add this into that. Like, we're the elite, we're amazing, Mr. Perfect, a Kurt Hennig thing. He's going to throw his towel behind his back, smack his gum out of the air. I can have this match with my eyes closed and make it look good. The problem is some of that stuff falls flat.
And yet, what they're saying they can do so easily and they're so perfect, shit like this happens where they completely blow the spot and blow the slam dunk at the same time.
Right. You at least had to make the dunk, and you could have faked the way through the spot. But you can't miss
Right.
the dunk and then fake the way through the spot because people lost what you were doing.
At this point, Silver takes the the indie driver or the indie taker, and then he is eliminated by Matt Jackson. Now we are left with the David and Goliath situation here. We've got Adam Page taking on the Bucks, both Bucks, and Kenny Omega. This is a 3-on-1 ending with a super kick party for a 2 count. 450 splash on Adam Page, 2 count. Page is just God at this point, even though for the entire rest of the match, every time a fucking fly landed on him, he fell outside the ring and laid there for 25 minutes.
Now, I know how you feel about the, quote, finishing moves and being kicked out of and take 10 of them. I can agree with you, but I get what is being attempted in the wrestling show. No matter which show we look at, they all do it, right? Would these spots be better if they were mid-match finishers, or you know what I'm saying? Not necessarily finishers, but more of like that a powerful attempt at a move. So if they not a 450 or a super kick, but let's just say a simple pile driver and he kicks out of that.
Right, a brain buster, something to that effect, something that's not an established finishing move.
Especially
because
for those guys too. Like you can hit somebody with a German suplex. All right, well Matt Jackson's not huge. Throwing a German suplex on Adam Page is not a finishing move, but it's a pin attempt.
Right, precisely. But yeah, we're just trying to paint the picture here that Adam Page is Superman. And Page starts mounting a comeback here because he's not affected by any of these big moves. He completely clears the ring, and he is just standing outside the ring, staring at the turnbuckle to get the crowd into it in anticipation. While this is happening, Brian, while he's just standing there, you can actually see all 3 members remaining of the Elite, Kenny Omega and both Young Bucks, on camera, clustering up to catch him before he even climbs the goddamn turnbuckle.
Yeah, that was a rough one.
How obvious can we make this shit?
And Page couldn't have climbed that turnbuckle to do his. I mean, he does an amazing moonsault. Like, right, it's full extension. Right. Like, it looks beautiful, right? Send him to the Olympics. But he walked up the turnbuckle. He taunted him. They weren't laying out. He didn't beat him up. He didn't lay him on a table. So if you beat a guy up and lay him on a table and he lays there, all right, I'll go with the story. He's hurt. You knocked him out. He's laying there. He doesn't know where he's at. He's laying on a table. You jump on him. But why you punch some guys on the floor and then said, "Stay here for a second. I'm gonna climb up this and jump on you." And just be like, "No, you're not." So, it sucked.
Right. It just absolutely stunk, and it just shoves it down your throat. Hey, this shit's fake. Watch this. We're all working together. Paige hits the Arihara moonsault as expected.
As expected, as written, as so. They hit their marks. They saw the tapes of X's on the floor for everybody to stand in their precise spot so nobody else died like John Silver.
Right on the script. Yeah. So Adam Page eliminates one of the Bucks. Omega does this whole contrived belt spot where he grabs a belt and the belt's taken away by Rick Knox, but then Rick Knox is just distracted enough so Kenny Omega can get the TNA belt and hit Adam Page for a 2 count. And then Adam Page hits the one-winged angel, and it's a wrap on Adam Page. This, having Kenny Omega beat Adam Page in this sense, seemed to be the wrong move, in my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah. I didn't like the way this ended. This ended like shit. It stunk.
It stunk. That whole belt spot was just way too contrived, and I think they were just looking for an excuse to get multiple belts on TV here so Kenny Omega can keep his gimmick going. And but why not have Adam Page beat Kenny Omega in this match? It doesn't get him a belt. It doesn't hurt Kenny Omega. All it would do would further their storyline, give them more animosity toward each other. I beat you in this match, blah, 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 blah. And Kenny Omega, well, it didn't count, da, 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 da. And then you could have just had the remaining Buck take him out. But because
I even saw that you could put Adam Page over in this and let him win.
that would have worked too.
How could it not work, right? It didn't count for the title. It's more story. It's more backstory to talk about. It's Kenny Omega going, yeah, but you had to have 4 of your goons from the Dark Order out there to beat me up for majority of the match before it was a wrap. You've got, well, I can do it on my own. You don't let them get their hands on each other for a couple weeks, couple months, and there you go. Next thing you know, you got a storyline going. But they just went, nope, we can't have that. Our champion can't lose on TV. The champion can lose on TV. He can lose in a tag match. That just adds fuel to the fire. He didn't lose the belt. I'm still the champ.
Right.
He can still walk around and go, screw you, I'm the champ.
They've been doing it for years. Well, having, even in one-on-ones, having them lose by count out or DQ or something. It's a way to keep that babyface's momentum going. They just stopped it in its tracks. Now, back to our original point, you said this was the perfect place for this 10-man match. We'll put it on first. The complicated way I'm going to disagree with this thing is that this proves that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega in real life, we're not even talking storyline here, are the most selfish motherfuckers I've ever met. We've talked about it before. The Young Bucks always put their match first. And this time they teamed up with Kenny Omega. If you notice, the crowd is hot this entire match. Every big tope suicida, flipperita, karahara, backflip, moonsault, the crowd is just into it and they're loud. Rest of the pay-per-view, significantly quieter. You know why? Because they've seen everything that happens the rest of this pay-per-view and the remaining matches, they've already seen in the first match.
I can give you that. So, you put together a good argument so far. I can't disagree with you.
I just think the Bucks and Kenny Omega want to get their shit in, and they want to get their shit in first so that they get the biggest reaction, and they could give a flying fuck less what goes on the rest of the match. And that irritates the hell out of me because they're executive VPs. They're supposed to want the entire show to be successful, to have the crowd into it. But all they care about is getting the biggest pop.
Now, I don't disagree with that. Where my brain was at for saying to have it first was a good spot is saying that this was great because it wasn't a match to hold together, as we just spoke about in Overrated, Underrated, a whole card. We can't hold a whole card together upon this 10-man tag. It doesn't matter that much. They did write it into the story, whether you agree or not, that it was going to happen. Let's just say the fact that it has to happen. It's not a main event. You make a good, valid point that an opening card that you went and kind of, blew your load early in the night, left the crowd exhausted to build for anything else. Mid card, 9 o'clock hour, that top of the hour thing, that changeover time, people it goes from 8 to 9, that 9 to 10, that right there in the middle of the card. Where are you putting this to make it better? It's going to happen. We can't take it away. We'll stick in that world.
Right. For this match's sake, putting it on first was the best thing ever. But I would just love to see a little justice served, a little bit of the Bucks and Omega getting a taste of their own medicine. I know it doesn't make sense to put it on last because it doesn't mean anything really, but I would love to see the entire show where the crowd has already seen 15 tope suicidas. They've already seen 39 pile drivers on the outside. They've already seen every backflip you can imagine, and then put these guys on TV. The crowd would just be like, whatever.
Let's flip it. Let's just play make-believe for a minute here. We'll flip this thing, and we'll pull a Missy Elliott. We'll put our thing down, flip it in, reverse it. We're putting Nick Gage and Chris Jericho up first. Now the Young Bucks and the Elite in this 10-man tag have to finish out the match. That's just as hype, right? You're putting something very huge. It's going to be the same exact matches. I'm not talking it's Chris Jericho and Nick Gage do a different match. Their exact match. We cut and edit the show. I'll bring it into Adobe Premiere. I'll slice it up and we'll see which way it works better. The crowd would not be as into it if they just saw a murder scene. you're gonna
Right,
kill
for
the
sure.
crowd. So I'm with you. I think they need to build. You need to have like a more of a flow to the show. They started up here and tried to keep it up here, but people are gonna get tired. I spoke about it before. I'm a DJ. I DJ weddings, I DJ private parties, bars, and anything in between. I can't keep everybody dancing the entire time. People don't come out to see me. I'm not Avicii. I'm not right. I'm just playing music at your local dive, but I can keep a dance floor going. But it's going to ebb and flow, up and down, and they're gonna get tired. You bring them back. You're gonna get tired. You're gonna bring them back. You got some ace cards to throw down to win them back that you can pull out of nowhere. And that's the same way a wrestling card needs to be put together. It can't be all hype. People get tired. You're going to wear them out.
That's a great point, and I know we're spending way too much time on this, so we'll move on after this point, and I think you'll agree. To liken this to DJing would be, you can probably name the top 5 hypest songs right now that are in heavy rotation, Billboard Top 100. We're talking top 5. That's a good 20 minutes of music there. If you just played those 5 songs on repeat for 3 hours straight, by the end of the night, people are going to be like, this shit is garbage.
Yeah.
And that's what a tope suicida is. That's what a moonsault off the top rope is. That is precisely how the Young Bucks want to get in the top 5 songs in their match, and then when the rest of the talent repeats those same things, nobody gives a shit by the end.
Nobody cares. They don't want to hear your remixes of the same songs. They want to move on. They want the same shit. They don't want your sampled nonsense shitty remix by half talent guys. They want the real thing. So I'm with you.
Right.
Let's move on. That was match 1.
Yeah. So hopefully this thing moves a little quicker. We're going back to our favorite interviewer, Alex Marvez. He is back there with Pac, and this was a train wreck. Pac can usually talk, but Pac goes on. Alex Marvez says the rest of the Death Triangle aren't here. Pac corrects him and says, oh, they are here, but they're at the airport, which isn't exactly here, but some indiscreet, unnamed guy canceled their car, so they're not at the arena. And then we get Chavo Guerrero and Andrade coming out, and Andrade says something to Pac in English. TNT, no subtitles this week. Usually every other week, whether he's speaking Spanish, English, French, or Portuguese, AEW's got the subtitles going across. Andrade speaking English this week, no subtitles. I'm not shitting you. I'm not being a dick. I did not understand one word Andrade said, and by the silence of the crowd, they didn't understand a word he said either.
Now, did you happen to go back at all and do a speed watch of last week's AEW at all?
I did not.
All right. All you got to do is go back and find the spot where they introduced that Chavo Guerrero is going to be Andrade's right-hand man. He's going to be his mouthpiece. Andrade, Chavo, the Lucha Bros have about 7 minutes of speaking Spanish on live TNT TV, doing promos on each other.
All Spanish?
Pretty much. Or rough English. In between. Now, Chavo can speak great English.
Right.
And even the Lucha Bros can do decent. You can understand. Andrade, you have a hard time. It's real thick. It's hard. It's just hard. He speaks a second. It's not his second language. It's hard. He hasn't been here long enough or whatever, but it's hard. It was, then all of a sudden they were just in Spanish. And I'm sitting there going, I don't know, what are we doing here? I guess the good guys say something, and we cheer, and the bad guys say something. And then last week, Chavo Guerrero was not the bad guy that we saw in this promo. Chavo Guerrero was like, we're just here, and I'm here to help, and we're just going to, the Guerrero family, and he's doing the Eddie shimmy, and he's all happy, and we'll talk it out. And now he comes out, and he's like, oh, we sent a limo. Hey, I'm this guy. We'll take care of you, the Lucha Bros. Like, they're trying to because what they're trying to do is draw the Lucha Bros to the Spanish guys last week. So they're saying,
Okay.
"Oh, come join Andrade and Chavo," and then they had a big Spanish yelling match, and nobody knew what they were talking about for the most part. And then this week, now Chavo is a big douchebag, and he's like, "Hey," and then all of a sudden he's like, heel Eddie Guerrero, if you will.
So you got inconsistency on that manner. And then just to be clear, I don't hate Andrade. I think he's a great worker. He puts a lot of the AEW talent, original talent, to shame when it comes to that ring. But if you want to get this guy over, you can't let him talk. Yeah, I understand Tony Khan just lets everyone do whatever the hell they want, but when your English is so bad that the audience is as silent as a church mouse when you're done cutting your promo, that's the reason for Chavo Guerrero. That's the reason they had him with Alex for a hot minute, but then Alex was with Andrade and Alex was with the Lucha Brothers and they're feuding. So I guess they realized they couldn't have Alex playing both sides. But that's the reason for a Alex or a Chavo, to talk for Andrade to get him over, because this guy, he just can't speak. It's the long and short of it.
That's hard.
I don't know what else to say.
They just need to leave Chavo as his mouthpiece. Have him whisper into Chavo's ear. Have him say, like, his gimmick is he only text messages Chavo. You know what I'm saying? He just grabs his phone and he's like, and then Chavo looks at it, he goes, he ain't going to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, or whisper to him or yell at him.
Whisper in his ear is what I was thinking.
Or even just talk to him in Spanish, but real short, blah, 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 blah. And then, Chavo can, all right, I got you. Let me handle this, and then let him be his mouthpiece. They could do it great, but they're not so far.
No, it's terrible. And then we move on. Brian, the show is so bad. We got Ricky Starks' FTW celebration, and he is played down to the ring by a marching band playing When the Saints Go Marching In. And I get it. It's because Ricky Starks is from Louisiana, New Orleans, whatever. But a fucking marching band, and he's in the ring cutting his promo, and you got Hook there for no reason whatsoever. Hook they want to have him on TV, and they have him just standing in the middle of the ring with a bouquet of flowers. Well, just from the beginning, this thing was shit, even before Brian Cage came down.
Let's rewind it even back a little bit before that. You have Taz on a podium in the corner of the arena, in an FTW podium, to introduce Ricky Starks, and then never comes down to the ring. Like, that didn't make sense. And we'll be loose here when we call this a marching band, aren't we? That's just something we're just using because that's what they were supposed to be. Because even the commentators were going, these guys suck.
And we find out later that these are just job guys carrying instruments and God knows what else more. But Ricky Starks, the guy can cut a promo. This is a guy you can let talk for himself. You don't need a mouthpiece for this guy. Just let him go and do his own thing. He cuts a heated promo on Brian Cage here. Hook's got his flowers. Brian Cage's music hits, and he comes down to the ring, and the guy who just kicked his ass and took away his FTW title is in the middle of the ring, and Cage decides he's going to beat up marching band, Brian.
I'm guessing the thought process behind this is that's what represents Ricky. So you start to tear your way through it. Like, that's the New Orleans. Like, I'm trying to make sense. I'm trying to make something out of shit pie here. I'm trying to put a little whipped cream on it for you. But I'm thinking it was the show of the drum. It made sense. It was a thing. The band should have been tighter together and made it hard to get through. Then he would have had to have beat up the band. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, then he would have plowed through the band. But the band, there was 6 of them, and there was, they were spread of, they were social distancing down there. So they were far enough apart that, COVID couldn't cross the barriers. So that's the part that made it stink. That's the part that made this thing stink. Is there was no reason for him to hit the drummer besides the fact of having him do it, because that's what we wrote down. Just because you write it, just because they write it down on paper, they got to go, well, why did he do it? If I'm going to write down Brian Cage come down and we want to have him put this big bass drum over the drummer's head, Why did he do it? He should have been getting in the way. The band should have been leaving and going down. They should have been filing around the ring and going down. Brian Cage's music hits. They're in the way. Boom, boom, boom. Bong. El Kabong over the head. Now it makes sense. Now he's throwing around some job guys that look like they're in a band. Yada, yada, yada. Hook gets in the way. The flowers get in his face, and he never gets his hands on Ricky Starks.
Yeah. That would actually make sense. And that all it takes is one extra step. Why are we doing this? Or we want to see a bass drum put over some guy's head. How could we do this to make sense? Instead, just
go get it done.
Wouldn't it be funny if Brian Cage puts a bass drum on that guy's head? Cool.
Cool.
Brian Cage grabs a trombone, rips it out of the guy's hand, breaks it over his knee. And God bless JR right here. There is no place in trombones for wrestling. I don't know if that was a shot at the New Day, but that's how I took it.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
New Day's known for the trombones.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing I thought of when JR said that.
That's hilarious. I didn't even put that together. That makes me laugh now. Oh, good job, JR.
Ricky Starks throws the flowers in Brian Cage's face, and Brian Cage sells that. He doesn't sell shit else because he's got to get his shit in, but he sells this bouquet of flowers, and blah, 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 he's all over the place. And Ricky Starks and Hook take off the ramp, and that's a wrap on that thing.
Yeah, I rewrote this thing better in about 30 seconds here. They never start with a why. They just go, this is the ending. This is that. Go do it. You're like, but why am I doing this? Why would my character do this? You don't write a movie that way, right? Jason tries to kill you. Why? I don't know. Like there's a reason why Jason tries to kill you.
This thing isn't written as a script or a screenplay. It's written as a brainstorming session. There's just ideas all over the page, and like, okay, we'll do that one. We'll do that one. We'll do that one. Go.
Yeah, it's written as punchlines. And then the guy said, no, but that's a nice ski mask, so go out there and say that. Well, what's the joke that leads to the punchline? You'll figure it out.
He's wearing a ski mask. It'll pop.
It's funny. Ski masks are over. Go say it. Like,
and then we go to a pre-tape here. Hiroshi Tanahashi cuts a promo, and
that's his.
I didn't care. Did you care?
Nah.
You're more into Japan wrestling than I am.
I was way more into it about a year ago, especially during COVID. I got back into it, and then about 3 years ago, I was way into it, and I was having fun watching it. It's good stuff. I enjoy it, but Tanahashi's Tanahashi. He's their Hulk Hogan. He's their Bret Hart. He's their Shawn Michaels. He's the motherfucker who's been there forever, done everything. What are you going to do? He'll come over and...
I thought that was Okada.
Yeah, him too.
Oh, okay.
He's one of the top tier guys. He's one of your top 4, right? That you did in your make believe, in your fantasy booking of your promotion. He's one of those guys. He's just always there, and when he's hot, and and he brings up the other guys. He's a good worker. He's a good performer. He's not scared to put over the young guys and bring them up, and be a teacher. And there you go.
I just think AEW is so lazy with that, though. I understand there's travel issues and everything, but it's almost like they do shit for their core audience, and that's all they care about entertaining. Because I understand it might be a pain in the ass to bring this guy to the United States and introduce him to your mainstream crowd or whatever, but your casual watchers that don't pay attention to everything indie, everything Japanese. I had no idea who that guy was. I have no reason to care why he's there. Bring me into the loop. Wouldn't you think as a media company, your wrestling's on national TV, wouldn't you want to bring in as many people as you could to care about your product? They just throw names out there like, well, there's 100,000 people who actually know who this guy is. There you go.
Yeah, bring in a video package.
Yeah, do a couple video packages for a couple weeks, before this guy cuts a promo and tells you what he's going to do, because otherwise
Or even
fans like myself aren't going to care.
Or even introduce himself. I'm Tanahashi. You might not know who I am. Watch my work. And he just calls out shit, in so many words. And boom, a highlight reel plays. If New Japan's going to lend you a guy, why wouldn't they lend you the video footage to put their guy over?
Right.
As seen on New Japan World, sign up for our $9.99 digital streaming service. Why wouldn't they do that? You got your little website in the bottom, Tanahashi. Oh, I can watch this guy over there. I can do this. Boom, boom, boom. Next thing you know, there you go. Why wouldn't you do it? It's $1 million idea.
Yeah, who knows? But then, Brian, we actually get a real wrestling match. This thing paid off for a little bit right here in the middle. We've got FTR finally. I think I was bitching about this a couple weeks ago.
They're back.
FTR finally gets to wrestle Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz, 2-on-2, straight up tag team match. Proud and Powerful comes out with Conan. I know you and I joke that they haven't been technically Proud and Powerful in forever. They're just Santana and Ortiz.
Right.
Those goddamn Titantrons behind them said Proud and Powerful all over it. So I'm sticking to it.
The Controns.
Right. Ortiz has lost a ton of weight, and he's toned up really good. Santana looks good too. Looks like he's been actually going to wrestling school or classes. It looks like he's been practicing. They've drastically improved over the past year or so.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt that they didn't drastically improve, that they are drastically allowed to show their talents.
Right. I guess they were always in there just doing high spots constantly.
Just probably,
because of who they were matched up with.
Who they're matched up with and what Tony Khan thought he wanted to see at the moment. Or what, the promotion was putting together at the moment. They were doing their goofy, his lion, they're funny and they're entertaining, right. And they can wrestle too. I think it was just they weren't splitting the difference on their entertaining, funny, and wrestling. It was all or nothing. It was all entertaining or it was wrestling. Right now, they're kind of getting a good split on who they are.
And you put them with FTR and it's gold. We got actual wrestling going on here. They're following rules. FTR holding the tag rope even. JR pointed that one out.
Yeah, because remember that was in their contract when they signed up. When they signed on to AEW. Right. It was in mandatory tag ropes used in FTR matches. So they have to really plug that still.
And we got selling going on from all four guys. They're actually selling shit. It blew me away that such a good match could happen when we have just swallowed nothing but shit for the past hour or so of this program.
The AEW gets lost in having that it's the indie mentality. These guys come off of this indie scene, and a lot of them, and it should be gone by now. They should have shaken this. Losing on the indies sucks, right? You walk in, you get booked on this show, you show up to this little arena, you show up to this little theater, you show up to this little bingo hall or backyard, and some guy goes, all right, you're losing, you're winning, you're losing, you're winning. Well, why do I gotta lose? Well, I like that. That's my buddy over there. I brought him in. I like that guy. It's a bigger name. You're losing. That sucks because then a lot of times people only see you lose. You never get to redeem yourself. But this is a weekly TV show, 52 shows a year, plus pay-per-views, now adding a second show on Friday nights. It's okay to lose. And you can lose right. You don't have to lose and look like shit.
Right. They got to get out of that indie mentality. But I know I'm on FTR's nuts a lot, and rightfully so. They are the best tag team in the world.
I like both of these tag teams. I'm all in with both of them.
Right. I agree with what I believe it was JR that said these are two of the top tag teams in the world right here. JR pointed out that amongst these fans, for the most part, Young Bucks are the best wrestling tag team in the world, but these two teams are definitely up there.
And they got Conan with them now, so I'm all in. Like, I always love Conan. I just want you to get him on the mic, do a little, Orale, arriba la raza. Do his old NWO shtick. Like, man, that'd be money right there.
I think that'll come. But Dax Harwood shows us that even the best can fuck up from time to time, Brian. Dax takes a clothesline from Ortiz and pops right back up. Like, I assumed that he thought the spot was supposed to continue, maybe an arm drag, takedown, something to that. But it turns out that Ortiz was meaning to crawl and claw his way over to Santana to tag Santana in. Well, Dax realizes this after he popped up from a clothesline and just lays right back down so that Ortiz can crawl over to Santana. And it was just, oh my God.
Yeah.
It seems like Dax Harwood could have found a way to get out of that situation rather than just laying back down.
Just run up screaming, "I'm going to kick you in the face," and just like brace for it.
We got high energy wrestling coming from Proud and Powerful here, and it's sharp. These guys are they're well-oiled machines in this one. We get a couple out of the blue dives that weren't obviously set up. They just seem to come out of nowhere with no surprise. Ortiz does a couple dives through the ropes, over the ropes, whatever, Kone, hee-haws, and and they went flat as a plate of piss there, because how many dives have we already seen this show, Brian? We've seen at least 56 of them.
Yeah, we had a 10-man tag, right, where everybody was flip-flying all over the place.
Right, so when Ortiz pulls one out of his ass that's not contrived, that's not super set up and obvious, no reaction from the crowd. It's just because they've already seen it.
Yeah, at this point, right, you're in the ECW phase where it's like, okay, there's a table in every match. All right, screw it. The Dudley Boys are now lighting tables on fire. Holy shit, we get a table on fire. You know, it's got to be the next thing. New Jack jumped off of the first balcony. New Jack jumped off the second balcony. New Jack jumped off the 17th balcony. He's got to keep going higher or screw it. I saw that last week. First balcony. Anybody can do that.
Right, and especially in the same show. So it's like, all right, well, now Santana and Ortiz can't do any dives unless, like you said, they're pulling a New Jack and diving off a balcony. It's the only way they're going to get a pop with it in this show. FTR goes for a top rope double team move here. Cash Wheeler gets knocked off the top rope and ends up cutting his arm really badly. It turns out he hit it on top of the ring post, some plate up there or something. And after we see Dax Harwood Cash Wheeler kind of scurry off camera to go get medical attention, they pretty much just decided to wrap that match up here. Dax drop kicks Santana through the ropes and does a sheer drop brainbuster on Ortiz, and it's a 1-2-3. It's a wrap. FTR gets the clean pen over Proud and Powerful.
Yeah, you knew that spot was legit when he fell and then he grabbed his arm. You saw him on the outside and he grabbed his arm. And then he walked behind
Conan.
Conan didn't fuck with him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get like, oh, get away. Who was in the ring from Proud and Powerful? Well, Santana or Ortiz, whoever's on the outside, there was no interference with him, right? He grabbed his wrist and he was off. And you could see him walk through. You could see the referee. I believe Paul Turner was in there. He actually was concerned. You could see some eyes looking back. And then if you watch, the camera even came to it, which is a surprise. You know, WWE has me trained that you'll never see something that's real, right? Like when you get cut, like cut it off. We're going to a backstage pre-tape, hit it. Don't go to those guys. And then if you go back and rewatch it, you see Paul Turner walk back to the ring, and he's looking up. You know, as Paul Turner does, because we all know.
Turner's a moron.
As he walks back, he's looking up at the ring post like, how did that happen? And it's like, well, there's camera mounts and shit on there. That was just a shit happens type thing.
Right. A freak accident, definitely. But it turns out that Cash Wheeler is okay. We don't know if he's going to miss any time, but he's fine. He didn't sever any main arteries or anything to that effect.
The good news is it's AEW, and you can go ahead and miss time, and nobody does just go away. At least now they got a reason that you can miss time. When's the last time we saw FTR on TV, right? They disappeared for 3 weeks or some nonsense. We didn't get to see hiding her hair from them. And sometimes an injury, like Britt Baker, if it was something serious, she's turned, shit into gold a couple times now. Broken nose, busted knees, and she became the biggest star without touching a wrestling match.
Yeah, now she's nursing a hurt wrist. But speaking of Britt Baker, we got Tony Schiavone in the back in a pre-tape with Britt Baker and Rebel. Britt Baker points out that her and Rebel keep getting hurt, and they are bringing someone in to have their back. So I don't know who they have in mind, but they're going to add a third person to the mix there in the DMD posse.
Now, I think it would be funny and good and entertaining to bring in, we're all thinking a woman.
Right.
This needs to be a dude. I think that would be great. And like it's coming in like a big like Shawn Michaels doing the Diesel thing, like the bodyguard, the Sid Vicious bodyguard for Shawn, something along those lines. I think would work great in a reverse, not really a reverse role, but a traditionally reverse role where he's protecting that way. They never get in the ring. Imagine like a Wardlow or a Jack or a Hager back there in that type of position where they're just like, suited up, dark glasses on, following Britt along, but she's a bitch to him all the time.
Oh man, that would be great. That is, again, you pull it out of your ass, and it seems like that would work better than any female talent they could bring up.
Let's be honest, all it's going to be is a female talent, somebody that's either recently let go from WWE or that has been gone, or an old WWE talent that maybe not ring ready anymore that could come in and be it. Obviously it cannot happen, but this would be a great spot for Chyna. If it, obviously, she's passed away, we can't have that happen. In a fantasy world, that'd be a great spot for a Chyna to come in. A person like that can't be in the ring anymore but still could come out and hang out. That would be a great spot. So it's going to be something like that, or it's going to be the new big star they're going to try and get over, and they're going to have this thing not last. But it needs to be a long-term thing, and it needs to be somebody that's going to follow her around, and that, this is how their career is built. So I think a guy would fit great in there, though, following these two knucklehead women around.
And we shall see. But yeah, old Britt Baker, accident prone as a motherfucker. Like I said, she's got a cast on her wrist now, and it's like, this girl cannot.
Yeah, she can't catch a break.
She can't go 1 week without getting hurt. Now we've got Alex Marvez in the back with Darby Allin. Darby Allin cuts a promo for the First Dance Rampage show in Chicago. Darby hinting towards fighting the best in the world in Chicago.
Dun,
so
dun, dun.
AEW's dropping hints left and right here. If CM Punk doesn't come to AEW, it'll be funny because it'll be like, they got us.
Yeah. They dropped another hint later. We'll speak about too. We'll move on. But yeah, that was a pretty blatant one here from Darby. We'll see.
Yeah, so I don't know. They've definitely got my hopes up, and we're all hoping that CM Punk comes in and stays the CM Punk that we've known for so long, which seemed to work for him in WWE, whether it's scripted or not. He always went against the grain in WWE. Yeah. He just needs to keep that going in AEW, and I hope that's what we're looking forward to.
We can take this and turn it over to the other side of the coin now. Daniel Bryan had a big run in Ring of Honor. Now, I know this is that, below the underground type stuff that only an idiot like me is going to know. But actually, Daniel Bryan ran with the best in the world gimmick for a minute, too. He said it. He would run around. He's in Ring of Honor. I'm the best in the world. I'm the best in the world. CM Punk makes it to WWE. He says it on a promo. They slap it on some shirts. Now it's CM Punk's thing. So it's kind of either side of it. But yeah, nonetheless, this was depends on how you look at it. CM Punk made it famous. Daniel Bryan has said it before. So either way, they're the two big stars, right? But he did mention Chicago, and he did mention best in the world. So I'm more leaning towards Punk, but.
Again, we shall see. And then we get our next match of the evening. It is our IWGP US Championship match. We've got Lance Archer defending that title against Hikuleo of the Bullet Club, coming down to the ring with his father, King Haku.
Yeah, that was pretty dope. I like seeing the big Bullet Club lit up on there. I like seeing, It was fun. I like seeing Haku. He can still move. I would like to see him get involved a little bit more, do some fucking his Haku Ming shit outside the ring, bust somebody's head open like a coconut. But, it's good. I like that. And I'm still crossing my fingers that one day we're going to get the Gorillas of Destiny. Tama Tonga Tongaloa making their appearance. I got my fingers crossed.
Yeah, this is definitely jiggling the door handle a little bit for that to happen. And man, Hikuleo is ginormous.
I told you he's bigger than Lance Archer, not by much. You don't tower over him, but he's got a forehead on him.
Yeah, and the hair helps too,
well,
definitely.
Yeah.
But we get the announcers in here. They bill Archer 6'6" or 6'8". They say them both, and then they say Hikuleo 6'10". Hikuleo needs a little more mass, to be a little more intimidating. Right now, he's got kind of the El Gigante body, where he's just tall, lanky, and but his athleticism makes up for that. He's not nowhere near as awkward as El Gigante here.
Yeah, he can move in his body. He doesn't have the big guy mentality where he can't move in his body, right? Andre obviously he couldn't move in his own body after a while. And who was the guy from India, the Great Khali?
Great Khali.
Like he couldn't move in his own body, right? He just didn't know how to move. But Hikuleo, he can move in his own body. He's young too, so he's a monster.
Yeah, for sure. Just get some mass behind you. This to me was a classic big man match, but with a little more flair. Both of these guys, I've been a Lance Archer mark since his debut in AEW there, but these guys are both extremely athletic for their size. During the break, they actually replayed this. Haku got involved in the match, which kind of surprised me a little bit because in AEW, managers don't really do shit. Haku actually chopped Archer in the neck and then sent him through a barricade very gingerly, but he still sent Lance Archer through a barricade. So it was kind of cool to see Haku get a little mixed up in there, but I agree with you. It would have been nice to see him do something a little more savage, a little more Haku-like.
Yeah, it didn't even have to be involved and change the course of the match. Just it could have been somebody else a run-in Jake or something. I don't know. Punch Jake in the head.
Right. Jake would take a punch from Haku. He would take a hot potato from him.
Why wouldn't you? If you have to tell. If Haku wants to hit you, you have to say yes because he's going to hit you regardless. So as long as you say yes, at least it'll be nice before he gets mad at you for saying no.
Right. Once again, Haku, the only guy Andre the Giant was legitimately scared of.
Right. Hop on YouTube if you're bored one night and type in, wrestlers. Who wrestlers are legitimately scared of, and there's like a whole thing out there where it's like Ric Flair pops up. He's like Ming or Haku, whatever you want to call him. He's like Haku. Everybody says this guy was insane, fighting people in bars in the 80s and the 70s outside of after gigs, and he's a madman evidently.
Yeah, and hopefully Hikuleo and Haku kind of stick around and get some more TV spots here. JR kept pointing out that this match wasn't pretty. He kept saying it was an ugly match, and I just didn't agree with that from JR because to me it kind of took it like he was shitting on these guys a little bit when I was just kind of looking at the glass half full mentality. Yeah, it's kind of a clunky big man match, but these guys are doing shit that no one else their size can do. I was legitimately enjoying it. We get some kind of goofy spots here where Archer's superplexing Hikuleo, and that took a lot of time and took a lot of teamwork to pull off, though.
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of mass up in the air. Back to what you said about JR in his comment, I may put it in the way that JR is stating more. It's not a pretty match, meaning it's not your high-flying Tope con hero, technical wrestling match. This is two big guys beating the shit out of each other. This ain't your pretty. This isn't Sean and Brett. This is two giants that are going to chop the shit out of each other and beat each other up. That's the way I took it.
I guess you can take it at the audience he's speaking to. If he's speaking to you or I, it's kind of him shitting on the match. But if he's speaking to the typical AEW Young Bucks, Kenny Omega super fans, he's kind of letting them know, hey, you're not getting your Tope Suicidas or your Con Hero torpedo twister nuts, but these are just two monsters banging it out. So yeah, I get what you're saying there. Lance Archer attempts the blackout at one point in this match and fails, but he eventually hits the blackout, which looked pretty silly to me just because Hikuleu's so tall.
Yeah.
But he ended up getting him over, hitting the blackout, and gets the clean pin on Hikuleu. Lance Archer retains the title as expected. Seems how he's only had it a week.
Yeah, I didn't see it getting changed over too fast unless New Japan wanted it back in their hands. You know what I'm saying? Where they're like, listen, we want our belt back, and it's been fun playing with you guys, but bring it back to Japan. But then we find out that Lance Archer said he's taking it to Japan, and he's going to go defend it at something coming up with New Japan. So he's going to head over that way and defend it there at some point or something like that. So we shall see, and it'll be interesting. But I didn't see Lance losing this. You feel bad for Hikuleu making the trek, whether I don't know where. I know he lives. Him and I know Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, his brothers, live in the U.S. and in Florida, I believe, and they make their treks to Japan back and forth for shows that need to be done. So I don't know if he was here, but if he had to travel all that way from Japan just to lose, like, ugh, man, that check must have been worth it, huh?
Yeah, definitely, and lose rather quickly too. But we've got more Alex Marvez. That guy's getting so much screen time in this damn show. He's in the back, and we've got a nice little row of chairs there. We've got a chair for the executive VP. We've got a chair for, God, what was the second one? I don't know. And then a chair for Tony Khan. But we had a nice little layout there. Cody Rhodes is in his executive VP chair. Marvez asks him about Malachi Black. And just like that, Malachi Black pops out of nowhere, attacks Cody. They brawl out to the stage area where Black eventually puts Cody down. Baby faces rush out from the back like crazy to separate them to get Malachi Black off of Cody Rhodes. And some goofball in a mask catches a roundhouse kick from Malachi Black that the camera angle was just perfect on. It looked hot, and the kid sold the shit out of it. Malachi Black came out looking like a ruthless $1 million on this one.
Yeah, this was good. It was, Ray Charles could see it coming when they cut.
Oh,
back.
yeah, for sure.
They've never gone to that, quote, as we'll just call it, the gorilla position before, where the executive vice presidents and Tony Khan would sit and call the show and do the things like that they do. So you never see that spot. So why do we see it now? Okay, something's going to happen. That's why. But, it's a match. You got to build up towards it, and it's just more animosity. These two have not actually got their hands on each other. We've never even seen Malachi Black in an AEW ring yet. So these are all things that I like leading up to a match. I don't want to see them have 3 matches before they have their match. I want to see them fight and get involved and talk shit and be in other matches and say, this is what I'm going to do to you and da-da-da-da-da, and build up towards it. So I'm enjoying this. It's just funny to me when you run a wrestling promotion and you don't let guys fight.
Right.
So it's always the break them up. It's like, well, come on, at least have him sign a contract that says if you touch me, there's no, da-da-da. I mean, he's going to pull a creative control thing and say, you can't touch me till the match. So, Malachi has to hold all his anger in, and he takes it out on every other jobber in the business. That's the way I'd run with it. But let's move on.
Moving on, we've got a Miro pre-tape, and the long and short of this one is Miro's on some weird religious kick that he sent from God, which, whatever. To me, it's original, and it's good shit. And I think Miro's killing it as a heel on this one with his high and mighty sitting on the high horse here. But the long and short of this is that Lee Johnson is going to get fed to Miro next week in a squash match.
Cool.
Yep.
He should already be in the ring with a satin jacket on and no music. Like Saturday Morning Superstars.
Precisely. He should just be waiting out there, just waiting to get his ass whooped. We go into our next match here. We've got a 6-man tag. We've got Private Party and the dancing goof himself, Angelico, taking on Jungle Boy, Juicesaurus, and Christian Cage with their mascot, Marco Stunt, following them out.
This thing was a fast-forward button, if you ask me, but I'm sure you got a few things to shit on because it has about 5 of the people that you hate. The only person that's going to get a pass is Christian Cage. Jungle Boy. You'll let him pass.
Without even getting into this match, why? So Fight for the Fallen is one of AEW's many shows that aren't a pay-per-view, but they're a special event Wednesday night show that's kind of pushed as a pay-per-view, a big special event.
An elevated card. It should be a little bigger, a little tighter, and a better well-produced, right?
There you go. So why would Private Party be on this thing at all? Why would Angelico be on this thing at all? We haven't seen Luchasaurus do anything significant in ages. So why would Luchasaurus be on this thing at all? It's just, it was a match that could have waited till AEW Dark, or could have waited till just a regular ass Wednesday night. It just made no sense being on a big special night.
It was a cheap way to get 6 guys on the TV. They were backstage. Tony Khan already paid them. Screw it, go out there and bring it down. It was the equivalent of the women's match before the main event.
Yeah, precisely. Angelico, I hate his stinking guts. He's so awkward. He struggled. He's with one of the best wrestlers to ever get in the ring, Christian Cage, and he struggles into a hip toss. That's just how bad Angelico is. He doesn't belong on TV. Yeah, we get a weird spot with Brian Cage and Marco Stunt chasing Matt Hardy off to the back.
Brian Cage? Christian Cage?
What'd I say, Brian Cage?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, shit happens. It's going to happen more and more with all these Cages and Pages and Rages.
Yeah, Christian Cage, Adam Page, all Nick Gage, Diamond Dallas Page, turn the page like Bob Seger. It's a big hot mess.
I got to poop on this one real quick. Luchasaurus gets in there, and I'm okay with this. He's just doing big man shit. He's just kicking everybody's ass, and then they just had to lift this spot from WWE. It was goofy when WWE did it, and it looked even stupider now, where you get all 3 members, Angelico and both Private Party boys, all hugging each other in a
German suplex, triple German suplex thing.
A human centipede.
Oh, boy. He went there with it.
Like grip, so that Luchasaurus can grab him around the waist and German suplex all 3 of them at once. And poor JR has to defend this shit and try to make it all scientific with leverage and strength and everything. It's goofy. It's contrived. It's impossible. It's fake as fuck.
Who gives a shit? And then it was dumb, too. Like, wouldn't you let go of your partner when you felt that you were getting thrown? Like, all right, like, Eric, one guy is beating both of us up, and if I just let go of your arm, he'll stop beating you up. Yeah, I'll just sacrifice myself so you can get away. You know what I'm saying? Like, you could have changed the spot, but you're just going to hold on to your friend. No, here we all go. Whee! Like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? It's just
terrible. It's one of the dumbest spots, and why they would choose to do it is just...
It sucks every time, no matter who does it.
Nobody's
done it right.
It's not even impressive looking. Like, even the biggest mark in the building is going to be like, my God, that's the fakest shit I've ever seen. But, so Jungle Boy hits a tope con heroes onto Angelico, and Cassidy leaving an opening for Christian to do a frog splash on Mark Quinn for the pin. And the afterbirth is a hooded Blade of Butcher and Blade fame hitting Christian with the brass knucks. Christian sells his ass off, and apparently that's the next feud we're pushing here. Christian, who they've touted as being one of the top ranked guys for the AEW Championship,
fighting Blade.
Now he's going to have a feud with the Blade.
And he's doing a 6-man tag with Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy.
And Angelico. Like, what the fuck?
This is just rough all around.
Ugh.
Get your money. Get your money, man. Get your money, Christian.
All right. Then we get a vignette. And this guy on this vignette, I just got to make sure, Brian, your old podcast partner, is he doing all right? Because this looked like your old podcast partner after he went on a meth binge and lost a couple teeth on a curb. this looked just like him. So I was curious. I'm like, oh, make sure Brian's old homeboy's doing all right.
I heard he's doing okay. So
Okay. So, and then I realized it's not him. This is garbage wrestler extraordinaire Nick Gage. And we just show a little bit of his previous work, if you can call it that. And then we just remind everybody that this is going to be your main event on Fight for the Fallen.
yeah, I can give Nick Gage the respect that he's turned. He made his career the way that evidently he wants it to be, right? This is the Clash in the 70s. This is the Sex Pistols. They said, screw the industry, we're doing it our way, and they did. And could they have made more money by selling out to the man? Sure, but they didn't, right? And he went and did it, DIY punk style. Okay. But, shit is shit. It's, how can you feel safe with him?
How can you look at this guy and get behind him? I don't understand.
I mean, he went and did something right. People love him, man. And that was the thing that I thought that happened in this match as we get into it, is that the crowd's going to be incredibly split. Everybody loves Jericho. So who's the good guy and who's the bad guy? Nick Gage is supposed to be your heel. He's coming in with MJF, right, to stop. This is one of the... But people wanted Nick Gage to win. I mean, they wanted him. Some people wanted him. Actually, I'm sorry. Yes, we know some people wanted him to win. What I meant to say was, then the other half of them wanted him to lose. So, but the whole point of this was, it's not supposed to happen. Like it was too split down the middle.
You got an attraction going up against what's supposed to be one of your top baby faces. So yeah, you're not going to get a planned reaction that you would want.
It was just different. You're getting, Nick Gage, and then you're getting Chance, and then you're getting Jericho Chance. They did, in AEW's defense, they put him over pretty well. They gave him a hell of an introduction. Jericho gave him top billing.
Right. Before we get into that, Brian, just real quick, we did have a couple things go on. That Nick Gage pre-tape was just the teaser for the main event. We did have Julia Hart and Thunder Rosa.
Apologies.
That was just a kind of a way to get Julia Hart on TV, and just another thing of, this is supposed to be a special Wednesday night show. Why do you have a Julia Hart on TV? The same reason of why do you have an Angelico on the TV?
I'll give it to... Yeah, she's sloppy. There was some rough spots. I'll give it to you. I like the cheerleader aspect thing that they're putting her with. The Varsity Blondes, the three of them work together very well. I like the way it looks. Does it need to be your sub-main event? Does it need to be on your big show Fight for the Fallen? Can it open up a show? Can it be on Dark? Yes, it all could have. They were very clunky in their match. She was knowing the spots that she had to stand in to do the things she needed to do to get to the next thing. She didn't sell very well. Thunder Rosa had her in a knee bar or something. When she let her out of it, she didn't even, do that, when you lay on the ground and, open and close your knee, oh, my God, you were cranking on my knee. Or, when they hit the side of their leg, to get feeling back, that old gimmick. She didn't do nothing. She's like, you had me in a knee bar for 20 seconds till I grabbed the rope. Then I stood up and we did our next spot, and you caught me this way, and then you win. It was a little rough, but I like the look. I like this feel. She's got some potential, but this was not the spot.
Right. Why this is your co-main event, I don't know. I actually felt bad for Thunder Rosa. She did what she could in this thing, with what she was given to work with. Julia Hart has a great look. She has a great personality, and I think she can get over with the fans, but she doesn't need to be on TV right now. Put her on a YouTube show to get some experience. But yeah, the placement of this thing, the reason it was on the show at all, just made no sense.
It was a stinkeroonie. They need to place her in tag team, mixed tag team, and early in the show or over on anything else. I agree. There we go. Now we can talk about Nick Gage and Chris Jericho.
Almost.
Almost.
I just real quick have to touch on this. I know it's only a 2-hour show, but this thing felt like it took 6 hours to get through. Mox cut a promo, a pre-tape on Takahashi. And even before I noticed the flask in his hand, he sounded drunk as a skunk. I think Mox legitimately, because he didn't have to show up at TV, I think he got drunk and cut a promo. I think he was
From what I
shoot drunk.
from what I understand, he drinks and smokes. Like, that's what he does backstage. He's drinking and smoking cigarettes. There's a picture of him that was going around on Instagram the other day, and it was like, he's old school. That's what it said, or something like that. And he's just backstage with a cigarette hanging on his mouth and a beer in his hand. And it was like, that's what he's gonna do.
Pretty professional. Oh, I also saw a video on TikTok of Penta El Cerro De Niro in full gimmick out in the arena buying his own beer before a show. I just thought that was pretty funny. But speaking of getting drunk backstage, all right. Now, Brian, the moment we've all been waiting for.
Yes,
our
two,
main event.
how could I forget those two very important things? Julia Hart and fucking dickhead drinking.
Mox cutting a drunk promo. But we've got Nick Gage. He is the second. What the hell is this shit called though?
Oh,
the whatever. Jericho. The Trifes of Jericho or some shit.
Trifes of Jericho.
And anyway, he's second in line for Jericho to plow through to make his way to MJF. And Chris Jericho has got his clown paint on. He's the pain maker, his Michael Jackson hat and his Legion of Doom jacket. And we've got MJF on commentary joining us. And this was another shit show, Brian. Nick Gage.
This thing was supposed to be a shit show, though, so at least you had that going into it.
I know, but Nick Gage, we know what he is. We know where he comes from. We know he's just a garbage wrestler. But he actually attempts the first few minutes of this match. He's attempting to wrestle and do moves with Chris Jericho. And he makes old Julia Hart that we just saw 20 minutes ago look like goddamn Dean Malenko in there. Gage couldn't wrestle his way out of a fucking paper bag.
It looked like Dean Malenko.
We can tell that Gage he's trying to be professional here. He's toning down his shit. He knows Jericho's 164 years old and that he's a professional. He's facing the hard camera here, and he's supposed to be slicing up Jericho's head with a pizza cutter, but you can clearly see he's got his thumb on the blade and his thumb further back on the blade. So he's just rubbing his thumb against Chris Jericho's head here, giving Jericho the opportunity to kind of roll out of the camera view and blade his own head. The most interesting thing in this match, Brian, was this right here. We just got done on the hard cam watching Nick Gage carve Jericho up with a pizza cutter, and we go right into a Domino's pizza commercial.
Yes, and did you see the internet controversy surrounding this?
I did. The commercials got just pizza cutters galore slicing through pizzas.
And Domino's has threatened to remove ads money and sponsorship from AEW and TNT if Nick Gage is on their TV and using the pizza cutter as a spot.
Yes, and I agree with them there. And to add more controversy to this, apparently WWE was on the horn immediately trying to get media outlets to cover this story, just feeding them the shit, just to try and make AEW look more like shit. Man, that was probably the most interesting thing of this match.
Yeah, that was interesting news going around that they were mad at him about that they're gonna go do it. It was pretty funny though.
Yeah,
timing was impeccable.
We come back from break to have Nick Gage resting a pane of glass on two chairs. He teases that he's going to put Jericho underneath the glass coffee table a la Sylvester Stallone and go ahead and put himself through the pane of glass. But that doesn't happen. Jericho gets up, hurricanranas Nick Gage through the glass. That was actually legit.
It was.
I thought they were going to use gimmick glass, but Gage was carved up after that one.
Yeah, I don't think Nick Gage uses gimmick anything, and if he's going to do it, he's going to do it right. So that's one thing you can give to him. Jericho looked like he almost broke his neck. The referee does rush over to make sure Jericho's okay from that Hurricane Rana. They showed a couple times, and it was a rough one. He just tucked his chin up but under enough. He's pretty tall to be doing that type of move, and he almost ate shit. And then you see Jericho kind of send the ref off like, I'm fine, stupid. Go over there and check on that idiot that I just threw a pane of glass, and the ref went and checked on him, and evidently everybody was none for any death.
Yeah, and Jericho likes poking the Grim Reaper there. Goes for it again after we get a couple light tube spots. Jericho allows this garbage, unprofessional wrestler allows him to do a sit-down pile driver on him. Why would Chris Jericho, he's been in the business 30 years.
Trust this idiot.
He's overweight. He's old. He's on the last leg of his career, and that's not me speaking. He's said it. He's pretty much wrapping up. Why would you let Nick Gage, a guy who attempts to murder people for a living, why would you let him do a move that paralyzed Drozdov, that broke Austin's neck and ended his career? Why would you let Nick Gage, of all people, do that move to you is beyond me.
Yeah, Why would you even get in the ring with him? You know, why would you get in the ring with a criminal drug addict that's going to cut you with light tubes and pizza cutters? You know, it worked out so well for mass transit and and New Jack. You know,
right?
I probably would have skipped on that. I don't know. I just don't see because I just feel that Nick is so crazy, and this is his spot to make some money, and now his indie rates are going to go up from this. I don't see him sticking around AEW. Like, that's not going to be a thing. I just see him, maybe he might get called up as a special attraction because every week of that just gets, stupid. What are you going to do next, right? You got to cut somebody's head off in about 3 weeks for it to be amazing anymore. So his rates are going to go up. He's going to go out there and cash in, but I see it if it didn't go his way, he'd make it go his way. Like, this isn't the way it's supposed to go. It's supposed to look real. All right, we'll do it this way, but it has to look real. It's not looking real. Now it will be real.
Yeah. Go ahead and carve him up. And this looked legit. He might have been doing this shit for real. Nick Gage was breaking light tubes in half, and it appeared that he was jabbing them into Jericho's head. And actually, just kind of pop, 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 like doing almost like the blading thing.
Right.
Of just jamming the light tubes into Jericho's forehead. And again, why, Jericho, are you doing this? There's no reason for you to do this.
MJF told him to. It's in the contract so he can fight him.
This is just, maybe it was his lifelong dream. That's the one thing in the wrestling business he hadn't done is a
death match.
A death match with a convicted bank robber.
Who didn't wear a mask. Wears a mask to the ring, but not when he robs banks.
Precisely. That's the brain power going into this match. Jericho ends up hitting Nick Gage with the green mist because after 58 light tubes and a pane of glass and a pizza cutter and a pile driver, we're going to go ahead and end this thing with a green mist and a Judas Effect elbow. And it's a clean 1, 2, 3 on Nick Gage.
I did like how JR's response was, "That's the Great Muda's mist. I would recognize it anywhere."
JR's just having fun now.
Oh, he was talking shit. He was like, "Okay, why would that be under the ring?" He had a couple comments where he's like, "And why are light tubes under there?" And okay, I guess we're gonna do this now. You could tell he was just going along like I don't think he cared for any second of this. He kind of was talking shit about it right there on TV, but just enough to be funny. Or were people like, was he serious or not? I'm pretty sure he was serious. I'd put my money on serious.
Yeah. So, that was a wrap on this one. Jericho gets through the second labor of Jericho.
The labor of Jericho. Yeah, that's it.
And we get the afterbirth. MJF comes out, grabs the mic, starts cutting a promo on Jericho. in the beginning of that promo,
Seemed very
as
familiar.
you sit there and the most pain you've ever felt sounded very, very familiar, Brian.
I want you to listen to me. If he would have sat down Indians or crisscross applesauce
There we go.
at the top of the ring,
PC.
at the top of the ramp there, and spoke to him, and then said hi to Colt Cabana, and said, "I'm not supposed to look at the camera because somebody backstage hates that." This would have been a very, very familiar thing we know as the pipe bomb.
Yeah. So another teaser to CM Punk coming to AEW, and that's how we close the show.
Oh, but not how we close the show. How we close the show is we find out the third labor of Jericho. Not Chris Jericho looks
that's
like
right.
he's in labor. This is the third labor of Jericho, and we get him fighting some guy named Juventud.
Juventud? What's a Juventud?
So if you're a wrestling fan of the 90s when Jericho made his debut, he mentioned he interrupted The Rock and he made that statement, and then they also mentioned that same thing back on Dynamite a few weeks ago or a few months ago. MJF and him were squaring off, and he says, "You're the byproduct." He goes, "One night your parents got horny watching me fight Juventud on Saturday night's main event, or not Saturday's main event, Saturday, whatever they call it. What was their Saturday night show on WCW? Just Saturday night.
Jesus.
WCW Worldwide Saturday night." And he goes, "And then 9 months later, you were born." Then even MJF kind of recreated it. What's a Juventud? And so Juventud Guerrera coming back to TNT after what they say was 15 years. Long time. I think it would have been longer than that because they were bought in 2001, so that was 20 years ago. But maybe Juvi wrestled on TNT for an extra 5 after they went off the air.
Maybe. But either way, I saw pictures of Juvi on the internet, and he is toned up. He is ready to go. Not like Super Crazy, who you and I saw at an indie show a couple months ago, who looked like he eats a Crave case and a 12-pack of Budweiser for dinner every night.
Old Super Crazy was so injured in the middle of the ring when he lost that but he had just enough energy to pull his shirt down so his fat gut didn't hang out.
But either way, that's not Juventud. That's Super Crazy. And we get a very in shape and a very elderly Juventud Guerrero. For some reason,
Guerrera.
For some reason, this is supposed to be a tougher labor for Jericho than fighting an attempted murderer, bank robber, in a broken glass pizza cutter match.
So remember a few months ago when Jericho had that entrance and he was like all proud that it was, maybe, I don't even remember what it was. I say a few months ago arbitrarily, a year ago, when it was supposed to be the special entrance of Jericho. Remember, and he had all the silhouettes come out of all of his old gimmicks?
Yeah, yep, I remember.
This is Luchador Jericho now. He's going through all of the gimmicks of his career. This is an homage. It is. This is an homage to the Jerichos that have been. So the Painmaker got to come back and do his gimmick when he was from New Japan, when he started that thing. Now you get the Luchador Jericho gets to fight Juvi again, just like when they were cruiserweights in WCW. It's going to move on and continue from there. So
Yeah,
Shawn
Lionheart Jericho.
Lionheart Jericho, and so what I'm saying is that Shawn Michaels is going to join AEW, and they're going to have their WrestleMania 19 match or 17, whatever it was. So you heard it here first, folks. Shawn Michaels is joining AEW to come back for the labors of Jericho.
Yep, they're actually going to have it at Safeco Field too, just to recreate the moment.
Right. 100%. That has been the KayFabe Smark podcast. I think that's all we got for talking on Fight for the Fallen and what was the show to end all shows. Make sure you guys check us out on all the social media platforms. Join us on YouTube. Hit that like button. Hit subscribe. All social media platforms, again, Facebook, Instagram, all of that fun stuff. Go ahead and leave us some voicemails over there at anchor.fm/KayFabeSmark on how much Eric's fantasy booking thing sucks, and we would love to hear it. Got some questions, you want to holler at something, leave a voicemail over there. We'll play it on the show. We'll talk about it. It'll be fun. Eric, what do you have for us?
I've got nothing else to say except our patented hooty hoo. We out the gates.